7 dark, chosen ones you'll meet at least once in your life. There comes a moment in every spiritually sensitive person's life where the air shifts and suddenly you feel like you're in the presence of something ancient, powerful, and inexplicably intense. You don't know whether to fear it, learn from it, or run. But you know one thing for sure, you're not in ordinary company anymore. But if you've ever felt the air grow heavy in a room, if your dreams have ever carried a presence that looked right into your soul, or if someone entered your life and left you completely transformed, then you've probably already encountered a dark, chosen one. And the shocking truth is, there are at least 7 of them walking among us, each with their own energy signature, and each carrying a piece of a much larger puzzle you were born to solve. You see, these beings are not evil. That's a mistake too many people make. Dark doesn't mean malevolent, it means ancient, hidden, cosmic. These are the ones who have walked through shadows and did not burn. They've sat in silence with demons and did not tremble. They have known the taste of betrayal, death, exile, and have still risen with power not born from love, but from absolute surrender to pain. And somehow, if you're watching this, you were meant to cross paths with at least one of them. But let me ask you something first. When was the last time someone entered your life and destroyed your old self without ever laying a hand on you?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Let's not pretend we meet these people with ease. Often they come when we are at our weakest. Not because they feed off us, but because we can finally see them clearly when our illusions are shattered. The first one you're likely to meet is the silent mirror. This person doesn't talk much. They don't chase conversations, don't seek validation, and their silence feels loaded. You find yourself either intensely drawn to them or uncomfortable around them, as if they see parts of you you've tried to forget. You may dismiss them at first, thinking they're just quiet or cold. But weeks later, something they said or didn't say keeps ringing in your soul. They don't offer you advice. They reflect you. And what you see in their presence either heals you or haunts you. The second is the chaos whisperer. You meet them in the middle of your storm. Maybe you're going through heartbreak, a job loss, existential dread. They show up not with solutions, but with strange calm. They're often misunderstood, called reckless or intense, but that's because they're fluent in chaos. They have walked through dark fires and now carry a strange peace with destruction. They teach you how to breathe underwater, how to lose your old life without losing your mind, how to accept that the end of something doesn't mean the end of you. And strangely, when they leave, your crisis stops feeling like a curse and starts to feel like a portal. But then comes the shadow catalyst. This one will trigger you like no one else ever has. You will hate them before you understand them. They mirror your deepest wounds. They'll say things that sound cold but are true. They'll push buttons you forgot you had. And here's the painful part. They don't care about your comfort. They were sent to awaken the parts of you still clinging to lies. You'll want to run, but running only delays the transformation. If you can face the fire, they will open a gate inside you that no one else could. They're not here to be liked. They're here to strip away your illusions. Now, I need you to pause and really ask yourself, have you met someone who didn't comfort your wounds, but exposed them? And did they leave before you were ready? That may have been your shadow catalyst. Not everyone survives their presence unchanged. There's a fourth, the keeper of forbidden truths. This is the one who talks about things no one dares say out loud. They speak in riddles, in archetypes, in patterns. They might talk about alternate dimensions, ancient civilizations, DNA activations, or karmic loops. At first you think they're crazy, but something in your gut says, wait. What if they're right? Their presence makes you question everything you've been taught. Your religious beliefs, your family values, even the linearity of time. Their knowledge feels downloaded, not learned. And if you lean in, if you're brave enough to sit with what they reveal, your reality will never be the same. By this point, if you've met even one of these dark chosen ones, your life has already begun to shift. You feel more sensitive to energy. You start noticing patterns. You begin dreaming vividly. You no longer tolerate small talk, shallow love, or fake masks. Something in you is preparing for more. And maybe that's because you're not just meeting them by accident. Maybe you're being initiated into something they already know. But the question is, how many of them will you meet before you realize they're not just people, they're checkpoints, tests, portals? What if each one is a gatekeeper to an aspect of yourself you've suppressed? And what if your greatest power lies on the other side of passing through all of them? The journey is about to get darker, but also more beautiful. The fifth one doesn't even know they're a dark chosen one until they meet you. Now this one is the most shocking, because they don't walk into your life like a mystical storm. They don't wear darkness on their sleeves, nor do they speak in cryptic language. In fact, at first glance you might think they're just ordinary, but that illusion doesn't last long. The fifth dark chosen one is different from the others, not because they are less powerful, but because their power is sleeping, dormant, locked behind trauma, confusion, or forgetfulness. But here's the twist, it's you who unlocks them. You meet them during a strange season of your life. Perhaps you're going through your own awakening, or maybe you're transitioning out of an old identity. And then, almost without warning, you cross paths with someone who seems out of place, not just in your life, but in the world itself. They don't fit in. They question everything. They may suffer deeply but silently. They have dreams they don't talk about. They carry an invisible heaviness that no one notices except you. And somehow, when your eyes meet, something ancient stirs in them. You don't even have to say much. Just being in your presence, something in them begins to activate. They start having strange dreams, sudden fears, or even deep emotional releases. They may not understand what's happening, but their soul does. Because you didn't meet by coincidence. You were sent to remind them of who they are. And they were sent to reflect back to you the fragile, beautiful, terrifying truth that the awakening path is not just yours to walk alone, it ripples. Your transformation sparks theirs. But here's the danger. This person is volatile, not evil but unstable. Because when power awakens in someone who's not ready to carry it, it often comes out in chaos. Their fear may turn into aggression, their confusion into withdrawal. They may reject you, betray you, or run. And it will hurt. You'll ask yourself, did I do something wrong? But the real question is, are you willing to be a trigger for someone else's soul, even if you don't get to be part of the outcome? You see, not every relationship in your life is meant to be permanent. Some are initiations, some are volcanoes, then some are mirrors. But this fifth dark chosen one teaches you one of the most painful but necessary lessons: you can awaken others, but you cannot walk their path for them. The connection may be short, intense, and unforgettable. And if you're not grounded in your own identity, you may confuse awakening them with saving them. That mistake can cost you your peace. So listen carefully, awaken, don't attach. Let's go deeper. There's a part of you that resonates with them because at some point in your journey you were that person. You were the one lost in your own shadow, not knowing you were carrying the seed of something sacred. Someone came along, a word, a presence, an encounter, and everything shifted. So the universe, in its beautiful irony, allows you to become that spark for another. It's poetic, it's spiritual karma, but it's also a test of non-attachment. Can you be the flame that lights another candle and walk away without demanding it keep you warm? Now brace yourself, because the sixth dark chosen one is about to change everything you thought you understood about power. This one doesn't show up in people. It shows up in patterns. I'm talking about a presence that isn't limited to a person's body, but seems to move through people as if it's a spiritual archetype more than a personality. You don't meet this person once, you meet them repeatedly, but in different faces. One day it's a stranger. Another day it's a friend. One week it's a mentor. The next, a shadow version of yourself. You begin to notice that the same energy keeps revisiting your life, disguised as new people, new situations, but always teaching you the same lesson. What is that lesson? That darkness is not just external, it's inside you. And until you stop running from it, it will keep finding new ways to meet you. This dark chosen one is a shapeshifter of the soul. It teaches through repetition, through déjà vu, through familiar pain in unfamiliar packaging. And once you recognize the pattern, you begin to awaken the rarest power of all, discernment. You start seeing the soul behind the mask. You realize that everything around you is feedback, that your external world is just the mirror of your unresolved inner world. That's when everything changes. You stop blaming others. You stop chasing saviors. And you start asking, why is this showing up again? What part of me is still hiding behind denial? And finally, this sixth presence reveals your next evolution. Because after you stop running from these lessons, you begin to see that the most dangerous form of darkness is not the one that tries to hurt you, but the one that tries to seduce you. That's the seventh and final dark chosen one. But to see them clearly, you have to pass through every shadow before it. The final one carries the sweetest smile and the most dangerous energy. We finally arrived at the most deceptive, the most polished, and arguably the most dangerous of them all, the seventh dark chosen one. You won't recognize them through fear. You'll recognize them through charm. You won't feel repelled by them at first, you'll feel drawn in. Because unlike the others who wear their shadows like scars, this one wears theirs like velvet. They don't fight their darkness. They've mastered it. And it's that mastery that makes them so hypnotic. You meet them when you're almost ready to ascend to the next stage of your spiritual evolution. You've done the healing. You've faced the traumas. You've cut ties with toxicity. You feel clean, prepared, elevated. And then, like a final gatekeeper, this dark chosen one enters your life. They're articulate. They're powerful. They might even appear spiritually enlightened. But something deep in your gut begins to whisper, something doesn't add up. And that whisper is your final test. Because this seventh presence isn't sent to destroy you. They're sent to offer you a shortcut. A shortcut that looks like progress, but is actually a trap. They'll say, why keep suffering for growth when you can manifest your power instantly? Or why go through painful lessons when you can bypass the chaos and jump straight to peace? And for a moment, it sounds beautiful, seductive even. But ask yourself, when has a soul ever reached divine strength without passing through fire? You see, the danger here isn't that they're dark. The danger is that they've dressed their darkness in light. They use love language but lack love frequency. They speak of truth but manipulate with subtlety. They operate not through violence, but through permission. They convince you to give up your strength voluntarily. They never take your power. They make you question if you even need it. And if you're not alert, if you haven't integrated your shadow fully, they will mirror the parts of you still craving validation, ease, or false enlightenment. They're not fake teachers, they're incomplete teachers. Their presence in your life is meant to test your discernment at its highest level, because they represent the temptation to compromise, the temptation to settle for almost awakened instead of fully aligned. So how do you recognize them before it's too late? You listen not to their words, but to your energy around them. Do you feel expanded or contracted? Empowered or subtly dependent? Do you feel more connected to your inner compass or more reliant on their approval? These are not just personality cues. These are spiritual pressure points. The awakened soul feels it before it thinks it. That's your radar. Now, let me say something you might not expect. The seventh dark chosen one isn't your enemy. In fact, they may be the greatest ally you'll never thank. Because when you pass their test, when you walk away from seduction disguised as wisdom, you unlock a power within yourself that no external force can ever mimic, a power to govern yourself. That's what all seven were guiding you toward from the beginning. Not just to spot darkness outside of you, but to stop outsourcing your sovereignty to anything or anyone. Because once you've met them all, you see that every one of them was just a version of you, fractured, wounded, half awake. And you, by recognizing them, by standing your ground in their presence, have proved one thing. You're not just chosen. You're initiated. The mirror beyond the mirror, what they all teach you about yourself. Now that we've walked through the forms and masks of the seven dark chosen ones, there's a truth waiting silently in the background, one that many fear to confront. But every dark chosen one you meet is a mirror. Not just a reflection of the world's shadows, but a hidden part of your own inner terrain. That's why their presence pierces so deeply. That's why they trigger reactions in you that are irrational, primal, or magnetic. Because what you're really confronting in those moments is yourself. The universe doesn't waste a single encounter. If you were not meant to awaken, you would never cross paths with these souls. If you were not built to rise, you would never be sent to stand beside the ones who fell. That's the paradox, isn't it? You meet the dark not to be consumed by it, but to confirm that you are no longer afraid of it, and that you've outgrown it, that you see through it. Each one of them, from the wounded warrior to the seductive sage, presents you with a different puzzle. and each puzzle demands a different version of your truth. Some demand boundaries, some demand forgiveness. Others ask you to remember that your silence can be louder than your rage. But all of them challenge you to choose your vibration consciously, not reactively, not out of fear, but with awareness. And here is the deepest truth of all. The final graduation of the awakened soul is not light. It's integration. We are not here to be pure light. We are here to become whole. And wholeness means you've stared at your darkest parts and said, I see you. You will no longer control me, but I will no longer reject you either. You begin to see your own shadow not as the enemy, but as the birthplace of wisdom. You realize that compassion without discernment is dangerous, that strength without softness is brittle, and that awakening without humility is illusion. And only when you accept both sides, when you can hold power and not use it to dominate, when you can feel pain without making others bleed from it, only then do you step beyond the mirror. It's not just that these 7 types exist in the world. It's that they live inside us all. You may have been the healer in someone's life, but were you also the destroyer in someone else's? You may have felt like the rebel, but were you the manipulator when no one was watching? You may be running from narcissists, but is there a voice in you that once craved control? These aren't questions meant to shame you. They are questions meant to free you. Because until you stop splitting yourself into good and bad, light and dark, you will always need enemies to justify your pain. But when you become whole, you'll find peace not because the world became quieter, but because you no longer need to fight it. And this, my friend, is why the dark chosen ones come, not to steal your light, but to help you discover that your light never needed protecting, it only needed ownership. You don't become awakened by running to the mountaintop. You awaken when you realize the mountain was always inside of you, and every shadow cast by its peak was just waiting for you to bring the sun. So the next time you meet someone whose presence makes you uncomfortable, pause, but ask not just what do I need to protect myself from, but also what am I being invited to learn about myself? And when you do this often enough, when you stop fearing the dark, you'll finally see the full map of your own spirit. And what a map it is. Wounded, wild, beautiful, brutal, magical, and unexplainably divine. You've now met the 7. The rest is up to you.